Right, so once again, I welcome you all to this very special 107th session of Leadership Talks. As you know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education, building quality centers, for elementary education, approachable for all kids. Another goal of IIEC. It is also trying to find best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in among Indian institutions. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for individuals and institutions. It also impart training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. So as you all know that so far we have successfully conducted 106 sessions. We have received 10,814 registrations, 9,799 questions on national education policy. We have seen participation from 5 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal. From India, we have seen participation from 21 states and 86 cities. We aim to organize 200 sessions. With that, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers like today's speakers will be joining us to share their perspective on national education policy. Now, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker, very senior education leader, Prachi Grover ma'am. Prachi ji is chairperson with Vidya Bharati School, Delhi. She is an experienced education leader, chairperson with a demonstrated history of working in the education management sector and a background in legal sector. Under Ms. Grover's stewardship, the school has been featured at UNESCO conference for implementing learning methodologies and adapting to students' diverse learning styles. Ms. Grover has also been awarded School Leadership Award in 2019 and felicitated at the House of Lords, United Kingdom, for her contribution in the field of education. She also received a special invite from Ministry of Education, Italy, for further collaboration between the countries. She has been recognized as one of the 10 most influential women in education 2020 by a survey done by CEO Insights. We welcome you, Prachi ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
I also congratulate you, for your school winning a special award on this Republic Day.
Thank you. So, thanks very much.
So, welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah. Our next key speaker, another senior education leader, Pooja Bose ji. Pooja ji is principal with the High Range School, Munnar, Kerala. She has done BSc honors in child development from Delhi University, B.Ed, MA English, MA Education, and CLTA from Cambridge University. She is also the founder principal with Delhi Public School, Rudurpur. She has also worked as principal with Kyar Manglam World School. She has a teaching and administrative experience of 27 years. She has been an avid public speaker and a vociferous advocate of progressive education. She has been a panelist on several national events and awarded numerous awards like the American Leadership Boards Award, the Passionate Educator Award by CES Global Women Awardees, the EduFeed Award, and the EduTalk Panelist Award. She has presented her paper in the Army Institute of Education about the partnership model between schools and teacher training institutes. We welcome you, Pooja ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next speaker, Adesh Kumarji. Adesh sir is principal with Maharishi Vidya Mandir, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. He has been working as principal for years with the Maharishi Vidya Mandir group of schools. Before joining Maharishi group, he had served St. Michael's Convent Senior Secondary School for 15 years. He is a postgraduate. He's a postgraduate in history and also done MAT. He received very prestigious national award for sanitization in 2012, jointly by CBSE, HRD, Government of India, NISBERT, and GIZ Germany. He has conducted several exams as a center superintendent and appointed observer in various exams of national repute. We welcome you, Adesh sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Renu Chauhan ji. Renu ma'am is principal with the Rockford Convent Senior Secondary School, Gurugram, Haryana. She has done MA with English Literature, MAd from MDU. She has decades of experience in the field of education. Under her dedicated leadership for almost 20 years, Rockford Convent Senior Secondary School has achieved many milestones. She has been awarded and recognized for her contribution to the field of education many times. We welcome you, Renu ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Dr. N.K. Sharma ji. Dr. N.K. Sharma ji is head of Department Mechanical Engineering with SRM University. He has worked with the Railway Wagon Sector, Indian Engineering Services, Maruti Suzuki India Limited for 31 years as General Manager. His total experience of 4 decades in industry and 6 years in academics. He has visited Japan 5 times and also acquired training and learned Japanese language at He has also visited General Motors plant in North America. So we welcome you, N.K. Sharma sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, Jaswinder Singh ji. Jaswinder sir is founder and CEO of Bosworth ELT. Jaswinder Singh ji has an experience of 30 years and has also served as a consultant to UNESCO on education. Bosworth English Lab is designed for India and is highly research. It is a trusted education company with 2 decades of service in technology, education, and training. Its expertise in technology, multimedia, and content development has been instrumental in presenting a world-class language lab solution for academia in India. In a short span of time, Wordsworth English Language Lab has managed considerable recognition across the country for its unique content and methodology. Over 3,000 installations in institutions across the country stand testimony of the quality in product, implementation, training, and the continuous service provided by ACURIV and its complete network of dealers. We welcome you, Jaswinder sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Raju. Thank you.
And our last key speaker for this very special session, Mr. Savio John. Savio is the national head of quality with Torrens. Savio John is a professional musician, specifically a singer, songwriter, and guitarist. He has been performing since a very young age and has toured multiple cities performing in various venues. He is also a gospel musician and has featured on multiple TV shows. He is currently working with Torrens Music and heading quality and delivery excellence in India. Since the past 8 years, he has been working with institutions engaged in vocational education, handling business development, strategy, and implementation. Savio has always been very vocal about making music a compulsory subject in schools, as the creativity, discipline, and communication that it demands would help students become better individuals. Savio has authored the vocal curriculum for Torrens and conducts vocal workshops across various schools. We welcome you, Savio. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Rajulji.
Right. So with this, I'll formally invite our speaker for the opening remark. And I'll just quickly share the flow for the session. First I'll come to you, all the speakers, for your quick 1-minute opening remark. Then I'll come back to you again for your main talk. The time for the main talk is 8 to 10 minutes. And then in the end, we have received many questions. So I would like to present these questions to you for your comments and perspective. So with this, I would request our first key speaker, Prachi ma'am. Prachi ma'am, if I may request you for your 1-minute opening remark.
A very good morning to everyone, and thank you, Mr. Pratap, for your very kind words and invitation here today. I really look forward to the discussion today. I've just had a quick chat with Mr. Singh before we started the session, and it's given me an idea how the session would go through, and I'm quite interested because I've had my principal join in before. So thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the discussions today. My primarily discussion, or my primary 8 minutes that I would use for today would be on increasing the autonomy of our teachers within our classrooms. So this is what I'm going to look at today, and I'm really looking forward to sharing the views and seeing the audience feedback today. So thank you very much, Mr. Pratap.
Thank you, ma'am. We all are very excited to hear your ideas and thoughts on national education policy. I'll come back to you for your main talk. Now, I would request Pooja Bose ji. Pooja ji, if we can have your opening remarks.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And indeed, a very relevant subject of discussion. To be honest, this is the first time that this education policy has recognized the early childhood care and education as a relevant pillar of, our pedagogical structure. And I would like to talk more about that relevant area that is the most vulnerable period of a child's life. So for me, this is a very important change in the policy. And I think we need to celebrate that and discuss more of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja ma'am. And, we all agree with you. In fact, I believe that this policy has already achieved that mass awareness, among the general people about the importance of those early years. So, we'll come back to you for your main talk, Pooja ma'am. Now, I would request Adesh sir, sir, if we can have your 1 minute opening remark. Sir, you are not audible. You are not. Yes, sir. Right. Adesh sir, you are not audible. आप एक बार अपने इंस्ट्रूमेंट के साथ अगर इफ यू कैन रीचेक दैट, उसी के साथ कुछ चैलेंज है. Yes, sir. If you can try now. No, it's not working.
इनकी पिन गलत डली हुई है, इसलिए वो आवाज आती है लेकिन ऑडियो नहीं आता. तो दी पिन फॉर माइक्रोफोन हैज मे बी इन द ईयरफोन चेक, तो वो जरा चेक कर लें.
आदेश सर, एज जसवीर सर सजेस्टेड कि आप एक बार अपना पिन अगर चेक कर लें हेडफोन्स का, उसको एक बार दोबारा से एग्जिट निकाल के एक बार दोबारा से पिन इन करें. मीनवाइल आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट रेनू मैम, आदेश सर एक बार आप ट्राई करें, उसको पिन निकाल के एक बार दोबारा से उसको अंदर दोबारा से पिच इन करें. आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट रेनू मैम, इफ यू कैन हैव योर ओपनिंग रिमार्क.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this brilliant introduction and setting a complete context. As you told that so many categories are there which are exciting about this new education policy, and so many are there who are apprehensive. So this is our prime duty to make them aware and make them clear about this policy. So I'll try to clear this thing in front of you, and obviously I'll be happy, humbled, and honored to be part of this discussion, and of course, all of your presence. Thank you.
Thank you. Renu ma'am, we are equally honored with your presence. Thank you for joining. I'll come back to you. I would request Adesh sir, if you can try again. Abhi bhi, sir, you are not audible. आपके हेडफोन का जो पिन है उसमें कुछ चैलेंज है सर, वो गलत तरीके से लगा हुआ है. राइट, सो आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट एक बार आदेश सर, अगर आप एक बार लॉग आउट करके लॉग इन करें और एक बार पिन को भी एक बार निकाल के दोबारा लगाइए. Right, so I would request Jaswinder sir, if we can have your opening remark.
Thank you, Rajul ji, and good morning, everybody. Pleasure to be a part of this panel where we are discussing the most talked about policy in the country today, that is NEP 2020. I come from the field of education and technology. We basically focus more on language teaching, learning processes, and software. So my focus is going to be on the big disruption that they're bringing into the way education is delivered through different languages. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm also going to focus on how is it that we can use technology to, take care of certain challenges which this disruptive policy has brought in, because there's a lot that has to be done. How can we achieve it, and where can technology help us? So that's going to be my talk today. Thank you, Rajuji.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir. We'll come back to you. Now I would request Adesh sir, sir, if we can have your opening remark. Now you are on mute, sir.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're absolutely audible, sir.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I congratulate you for conducting 106 sessions successfully for awareing the people. Today, I'm going to present on early childhood care and education, the foundation of learning, the basic of this NEP 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Adesh sir. We all are very excited to hear your ideas. So I'll come back to you for a detailed talk. Now I would request Savio, if we can have your opening remark.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Radulji, for having me over. It is such a pleasure to be in the presence of such eminent personalities in the field of education. I would be speaking upon the importance of music in education and how it plays a vital role in the development of children as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Savio. Now we'll come back to you. Now, with this, we come to the next part of this session, which is the main talk session. I'll, come to you all for your, detailed interpretation and understanding on different aspects of national education policy. But before I invite our first key speaker, just would like to share the learnings which we have had during our last 106 sessions. During our last sessions, almost every participant suggested that this is a brilliant document. This document, National Education Policy, has a potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. Almost every speaker, shared their apprehension that execution is going to be a key. A lot of people believe that finance is going to be a challenge. Many people share that teachers training is going to be a huge challenge. A lot of education leaders who participated, assess that many good schools in urban areas, they're already implementing these ideas. But the biggest challenge would be for rural schools, budget schools, or government schools. A lot of people also share that, we have, I would say, a uneven distribution of infrastructure. And this pandemic has exposed even the digital infrastructure is not evenly distributed. So I would request all our speakers, I also have one request that while sharing our interpretation, if we can also suggest some ideas, some kind of a roadmap suggestion, which we can all try in our respective domain. So that would, make this session more engaging and more impactful. Now, with this, I would request our first key speaker, Prachi Gover ma'am. Prachi ji, over to you.
You are on mute, Rajuji.
So Prachi ji has got disconnected, so she'll be joining us back, I believe, in next, a few seconds. Right. So now I believe now I would request our next key speaker, Pooja Bose ma'am, if we can, if we can have your interpretation, Pooja ji.
Thank you so much. There's not much to actually decode because it's fairly clear as to what the policy document wants from us as teachers and as educators. However, I would like to, reiterate some key areas based on which the policy document was, into being. the philosophical base of this document, I'll start with. And that was a deep sense of respect towards the educational vision, our roles, our responsibilities in a changing world. So the key word here is that the world is changing now. We cannot base our decisions, our plans on a world which is static anymore, because the changes are very rapid and transformational. The other important aspect is equity. So it focuses a lot on equity and inclusion from all sectors of the society. When I say inclusion, I mean not only in terms of ability, like the differently abled are elaborately featured in this document, and also the economically backward sections of the society also find a place, and there is a lot of sensitivity towards that strata of the society. So that way, this document has very clearly etched out its reforms, its expectations from us, the educators. It also instills values, dispositions that support responsibility from us as teachers, as principals. So that way, the document has given its own set of expectations from each stakeholder in the school and higher educational system. In fact, it's a departure from the archaic practices and pedagogies which were followed. We know it very well because it has stated that the 21st century skills will be the cornerstone in all our planning and all our systems. One of the good things which has been introduced is, besides the midday meal, the nutritious breakfast, which will be given to all the early primary years children. There is an increased focus on numeracy and literacy skills during the foundational years. Now, what it means is that it was discovered that there is a severe gap in the learning gap is eminent in the foundational literacy years of the child. So there is a gap there. And when we talk about language, the comprehension aspect of the language, the ability to comprehend a text is severely missing in class 1, 2, and 3. As per the learning outcomes, expected learning outcomes, which are stated in the National Curriculum Framework, we don't attain them in most of the schools around the country. So that part has to be, compensated. That part has to be filled in. So there is an increased focus on the new, foundational literacy skills and numeracy skills of the child during the foundational years. How will we do this? And Jaswinder ji is here with us. So technological interventions are very much, now they have found a new respect in the area of school education. So we have to use technology as aids in teaching and learning. Now, one important inclusion in this policy document is the 3-month-long bridge program between the kindergarten and class 1, which also will be play-based. So that bridge program will, fill in a lot of learning gaps, which we find when children enter the primary years of their schooling. So what will be the key features of that bridge program? What will be the structure and framework of that bridge program? We have yet to see. Of course, the National Curriculum Framework is awaited, and we are hoping that everything will be very clearly stated in that. So in this policy document, the unique capabilities of every child is recognized and reiterated, and we as teachers have to emphasize on the unique capabilities of every child rather than the factory method of teaching which we were following earlier. Now we have to change gears and we have to shift our attitude towards recognizing that every child is an individual. And during the formative years, the left brain development and right brain development both have been taken into account. The environment has to be learner friendly, undoubtedly. And how that would happen is through training programs, professionalization of the educators, and the training should be of very high quality. concrete timelines have been given in the National Policy of Education. For example, by 2025, every student of grade 5 and beyond would have achieved foundational literacy and numeracy. It is a very systematic, clear language which has been used. So it is very well scripted, I would say. It's a very well scripted document. Of course, the access also is an important feature, digital access as well as educational access of every child in the country, even if they are sitting in remote corners of the country. So I would say the high point of this policy document is the fact that access, inclusion, equity, and 21st century skills are kind of highlighted, they have resurfaced, and there is a clear indication and there's a clear path which has been shown to us as to how we are going to achieve each of this. Last but not the least, the importance given to mother tongue as a medium of instruction during the early years of education is also an important feature. And it is, not that in the earlier national policies this was not talked about, it was. But now they have clearly told us that you've got to follow this because it will help form certain, neurological brain development will happen if the child is studying in his or her mother tongue. So that is a new feature which I feel is for all of us to study, to understand, and to follow. So according to me, this is what the document, this is the newness in the document, and this is something which I find very, very heartening to note. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja ma'am, for sharing these important highlights of national education policy. You began with a very strong assessment. The world is changing, so our plans need to change accordingly. We cannot remain static. You also talked about the importance of equity and inclusion, and NEP talks about these areas. You also talked about the importance of technology and why we need to adopt technology, why we need to use technology as an important aid, important tool. You also shared that NEP is trying to recognize the unique capabilities, of every child. It will help us in creating the learner-friendly environment that will have the potential to change the entire education ecosystem. So thank you, Pooja ma'am, for these strong remarks. We'll come back to you with questions. Thank you, Pooja ji. Now, I would request Prachi Gover ma'am. Prachi ji, if we can have your ideas on national education policy. Prachi ma'am. You are on mute, ma'am.
Thank you. I genuinely apologize for the slight connectivity issue that we had recently. I'm not really sure till when did you hear me? So I'm just going to restart again. One thing that really resonates with me and has been resonating for a long time is the quote by William Ward: "A mediocre teacher tells, a good teacher explains, a superior teacher demonstrates, and a great teacher inspires." The entire education policy, if we look at it from a little bit aside, yes, it's child-centric, no doubt about it. However, without the teacher's input, the policy will not be successful as any educational institution would like it to be. So NEP tells about how critical it is that the child not only learns, but learns how important it is how to learn. The responsibility automatically falls on the teacher, and conversely by the school management. And this is what has happened in my schools, not just since the policy got through, that we have been thinking of ways in which we can change, because we not only get teachers coming influx of new teachers, but we have over 60-70 teachers in our school who have been with us for quite a considerable time now. We need to ensure that they are learning the skill set so that this new education policy can be implemented in the true spirit, in terms of learning experientially, joyful learning, happiness curriculum, and so on and so forth. So a teacher is a very fundamental part of the reform that this NEP foresees. and it puts the schools, part of the school management's administration to nurture the teachers, empower the teachers, and re-establish the teacher autonomy. Because in the past so many years, the teacher autonomy has kind of taken a back seat. Teachers are given a set syllabus, a set curriculum, and we match them how much it is done, how much not done. Those are the things that we are measuring our teachers in their ACRs. So going forward, the teacher autonomy needs to be rebuilt. How the teachers needs to teach in a class needs to be teacher driven more than the curriculum driven. The teacher needs to realize a lot on what is working in a classroom, how student centric the teaching has to be, and these are the concepts the teachers need to reestablish within their classrooms. And again, what I'm saying is teachers need to be trained again how to do it, and that training cannot be the SAGE concept where we have a facilitator come in and who teaches the teacher how to teach. The teaching, the learning that teachers need to imbibe is also experiential. So schools really need to invest in already the human resources that we have within our schools to actually equip our teachers to be able to implement the NEP in its true form and spirit. Because experiential learning has become key. Learning to integrate has become key to ensuring that the students coming out of this new education policy are global citizens, because we are no longer measuring our children by 10th and 12th. I don't even remember what my results were, which are so key, which we make so much of a hawa, I would say, in our schools, and what is your result in 10th, and that kind of defines the career trajectory of any child, how 12th class results are, and 10th class, which stream you go through. So teachers need to become a little bit more student-centric, not syllabus and curriculum-centric. And in this aspect, a lot of appraisal needs to be done. And appraisal doesn't need to be that annual confidential report appraisals. The appraisals that we are looking at now for ensuring the NEP is implemented is more about peer learning, more about peer appraisal, more about student appraisal, more about parent feedback, how that is working within an institution, because that would govern the teacher learning again in the class, getting feedback from the peers. And in our school, we have this concept of open classrooms, wherein every teacher, currently we are obviously on a lot on online and offline, but majorly on online forum, how we are doing it, that the two teachers from different subjects go into a singular Zoom room, wherein the other teacher, the facilitator, is obviously teaching what she's teaching, and there is another teacher sitting behind that teacher, listening into that lesson and also learning what that teacher is teaching within her class. And what that does is that automatically brings in integration of subject, that automatically brings in collaboration between teachers without even teachers realizing what they're doing. This open classroom has worked very well, and we've received feedback from a lot of teachers that they are enjoying learning history, learning the way freedom struggle was, concepts that teachers didn't remember from their 10th class because they took I'm not sure if you can hear me actually.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize. So what I was saying is that, that this open classroom concept is working very well within our school, where teachers are actually enjoying learning different subjects, which they have lost, contact with. Again, getting back to this, we still need to invest a lot in our teachers, even the new teachers that are coming in, the kind of teachers that come from the school, from learning into school, they need to be really, really groomed to actually be the kind of teachers any school requires. So NEP does focus on the teacher learning, which happens before the teacher comes into place, but on role learning, on within the school learning is very different. Managing 40, 30 students in a classroom is very different. So we really need to invest in our teacher turning modules. Teachers are given this 50 hours of continuous professional development. And yes, Khana Puri ke andar 50 hours can easily be done. But the schools really need to think what kind of training the teachers need to have. A particular road needs to be charted right at the beginning of the session, that this is the kind of learning this teacher would need. And that falls back on the ACRs, the peer appraisal that the teachers had gone through, the student appraisals, the parent feedbacks, and obviously the constituent authorities being the principal, vice principals, their feedback as to what kind of learning the teachers need to do within that 50 hours. It doesn't need to be, these are 10 trainings, I need to finish it, 50 hours, let me finish them. No, the training needs to be really focused on so that the learning, the experiential learning that NEP foresees can be implemented. Another thing that a lot of schools struggle with is that there's a lot of attrition within teachers because there's only so many principal roles. We have thousands of 4,000 odd schools in Delhi. So there's 4,000 principal roles. And on average, if I even say 4,000 schools have, say, 100 teachers, that's over 4 lakh teachers here. But only 4,000 would become principals within the schools. So that kind of motivation needs to go on. We need to be training our teachers not just to be educators, but administrators at the same time. So they may not become the principals, but they may become the administrator within their classroom. They should have full autonomy to have that learning focused on the student, and that would empower them more. That would enable them more, and job satisfaction within the teaching community, which doesn't happen. They'll be happy till 40, 50. At 50 to 60 age gap, when we are thinking, when we have a lot of teacher attrition, when the children have grown up, their children have grown up, there's no such requirement to do a job. But that fulfillment of doing a job, because 50-year teacher is extremely trained teacher, and it is a hardship for a school to lose a 50-odd-year-old teacher. So a lot of attrition happens in that case, and I'm sure all the principals will agree with me. We have a lot of attrition between the 50, 60-year age group. So that training, that initial training of giving them autonomy would make them stay with us till retirement. So this is my 2 pence on NEP and the requirement of teachers. So thank you very much. I hope I haven't taken more time than necessary.
Thank you. Thank you, for sharing these impactful words. You talked about this NEP, how this NEP is going to create an environment where we would be having great teachers who will inspire these students. You also talked about that teachers are the fundamental part of any reform, and this NEP is making a very serious effort, in that way. You also talked about teachers' autonomy and why it needs to be rebuilt. You also shared that peers' feedback can be used as an important tool, in teachers' training. You also talked about how NEP is focusing upon teachers learning, before they join any formal school, before they, formally begin their, professional career. And you also assess that teachers also need to be given that, training for administrative capabilities. So these all were very impactful suggestions and interpretation. Prachi ma'am, thank you for sharing these things. I'll come back to you with questions. And before I invite another key speaker, I must recognize the presence of 2 eminent education leaders among us. Sobenika Pal ma'am, Principal Vidya Bharati School, and Sunita Nandwani ma'am, Principal Central Public School, Faridabad. So we welcome you both.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rajul ji. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Sobenika ma'am. And with this, now I would request our next key speaker, Adesh sir. Adesh sir, if you can have your ideas. Adesh sir, do we have your presence?
He is logged in, but I think he can't hear you.
Yeah.
He is logged in. Sir is logged in.
He's here.
Yeah, he's
so
there.
Adesh sir, do we have your presence? Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Please allow me to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Now, let me start with the vision of the National Education Policy 2020. Am I audible?
You're audible, but have you shared your screen, sir? Sir, you are audible, पर आपकी screen, आपने कोई screen share किया है, वो अभी visible नहीं है.
Okay. Some network issues there, so I'm unable to share this.
Okay, no problem, sir. Please go ahead.
Let me start with the vision of this policy, National Education Policy 2020. This is one of the best document introduced by the Government of India. This National Education Policy envisions an education system rooted in the Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all, and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. This policy envisages that the curriculum and pedagogy of our institutions must develop among the students a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental duties and constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and a conscious awareness of one's roles and responsibilities in a changing world. The vision of the policy is to instill among the learners a deep-rooted pride in being Indian, not only in thought, but also in spirit, intellect, and deeds. As develop knowledge, skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development, and living and global well-being, thereby reflecting a truly global citizen. This national policy focuses on healthy brain development of child and growth. It is a finding that over 85% of the child cumulative brain development occurs prior to the age of 6 years. That's why this particular point have been given place and focused on early childhood care and education, the foundation of learning, indicating the critical importance of appropriate care and stimulation of the brain in early years in order to ensure healthy brain development and growth. If we compare it with the present policy, education policy, we find that ECCE is not available to crores of children. If you visit a village area, you can see the devastating condition among the Anganwadis, even the pre-primary schools and the primary schools and the junior schools. So this ECCE is focuses now through NEP 2020, especially on the children from socio-economically disadvantaged backgrounds. A strong investment in ECCE has the potential to give all young children such access, enabling them to participate and flourish in the education system throughout their lives. So, and education is now universalized, it provisioning of quality early childhood development care and education. This must be achieved by 2030. Early childhood care and education, it also focuses on holistic development of education. So ECC has a provision of flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, and inquiry-based learning comprising of, for example, alphabets, languages, numbers, count, shapes, indoor and outdoor play, puzzles, logical thinking, problem solving, drawing, painting, other visual arts, craft, drama, and puppetry, music, and movement. It also includes a focus on developing social capacities, sensitivity, good behavior, courtesy, ethics, personal and public cleanliness, teamwork, and cooperation. The overall aim of early childhood care and education will be to attain optimal outcomes in the domain of physical and motor development, cognitive development, socio-emotional ethical development, cultural artistic development, and the development of communication and early language literacy and numeracy. I think this is one of the best point in early childhood care and education, that it focuses on holistic education and development of the child. The planning is a national curricular and pedagogical framework for early childhood care and education for children up to the age of 8 will be developed by NCERT. This will be in two parts. First, for the children up to the age of 3 years, and second will be from 3 to 8 years students. And this will be aligned with the above guidelines, which is mentioned in the ECCE ideology. The latest research for ECCE and national and international best practices will try to be involved in all these. In particular, the numerous rich local traditions. This is another best point, that connecting children with the local traditions and culture is one of the best example or the provision laid down in the education policy. Developed over millennia in ECC involving art, stories, poetry, games, songs, and more. The framework will serve as a guide both for parents and early childhood care and education institutions. So you can see here that parents were also involved, were given weightage or were made stakeholders for early childhood care and education, because without caring about the parents, without counseling with the parents, we can't achieve our goal or the vision of this document. The universal access to ECCE, Anganwadi centers, will be strengthened with a high quality infrastructure. If we compare with the present status, we can see that centers are there, already existing in the villages, in the remote areas of the villages, but the condition is very poor. And the children of the villages, they are not getting proper advantages, proper benefits, which are transferred by the government. They are not getting it. So special provision have been made to strengthen the Anganwadi, the pre-primary education, the preschooling. We want to strengthen Anganwadi centers and to equip our children for the schooling. That will start from grade 1. So Anganwadi center will be strengthened with high quality infrastructure, play equipment, and well-trained Anganwadi workers and the teachers. Every Anganwadi will have a well-ventilated, well-designed, child-friendly, and well-constructed buildings with an enriched learning environment. Children in Anganwadi centers shall take activity-filled tours and meet the teachers and students of their local primary schools. This is an attempt to connect the Anganwadis with the other primary schools of the village. In order to make transition from Anganwadi centers to primary schools a smooth one, Anganwadi shall be fully integrated into school complexes clusters. So another provision have been made to create a hub of learning through which the schools or the centers of learning can share their resources among themselves. Anganwadis shall be fully integrated in school complexes, clusters, and Anganwadi children, parents, and teachers will be invited to attend and participate in school complexes, programs, and vice versa. This is what we are doing presently also in a hub of learning and among the CBSE schools. We have a 4 or 5 group of schools. That's a hub of learning. One school is the leader, and we all are sharing and conducting several activities among those 5 or 6 schools. Another point of related to early childhood care and education is, it talks about Bal Vatika. That is a preparatory school, preparatory class that is before class 1. based primarily on developing cognitive, affective, and psychomotor abilities, and early literacy and numeracy. The midday meal program shall also growth monitoring to be made available to preparatory classes, students of Anganwadi as well as primary school. One more important decision that is taken, or the provision given in the NEP 2020, that the use of technology in training. Presently, we the teachers and the principals have been trained by the CBSE through Diksha app. It's a online platform, and that about lakhs of teachers are attending the training through Diksha. So this provision have been given in the NEP also to prepare an initial cadre of high quality ECC teachers in Anganwadis. Current Anganwadi workers or the teachers can be given training in a systematic effort and in accordance with the curricular or pedagogical framework developed by NCERT. Anganwadi workers, teachers with the qualification of 10+2 and above shall be given a 6-month certificate program, and those with the lower educational qualification shall be given a 1-year diploma program covering early literacy, numeracy, and other relevant aspect of ECC. These programs may be run through digital distance mode, which we talk about these days, online, through Diksha app, through different other aspects, through train the teachers. Mode using DTH channels, another aspect. Through DTH channel, we can transmit the program, training program to lakhs of teachers, as well as smartphones, allowing teachers to acquire ECC qualification with minimal disruption of to their current work. The ECC training of Anganwadi workers will be mentored by the cluster resource centers, the CRCs, which are existing in our nearby area. Now, CRCs are also very active in providing and attaining data of the teachers and for training purposes. School education department, we shall hold at least 1 monthly contact class for continuous assessment. So this provision is given that not only training, off and on training can be organized, but that must be continuously monitored, that how the teachers are trained and how they are delivering to their Anganwadis or the schools. The state government is also preparing the cadre for professional qualified teachers, educators for early childhood care and education through stage-specific professional training, mentoring mechanism, and career mapping. Necessary facilities will also be created for the initial professional preparation of these educators and their continuous professional development. So this is what I feel, what I have understood of NEP 2020, or you can say we are the followers of Maharshi ji, Mahesh Yogi ji. What he says that ek hai saade sab sade. Agar hum, if we tackle this challenge of managing early childhood care and education, it means the foundation. If we make this foundation strong, we'll be able to build a strong building over that. So this is one of the most challenging aspect of any NEP, and this should be addressed. Thank you, Rajul-ji, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Adesh sir. For sharing and explaining us how NEP focuses on all aspects of education. You assess that NEP is making a very strong effort in achieving the much talked about holistic development. You also talked about that the NCERT's involvement in creating syllabus for early years is also a very important step. And you also explain how and why NEP is making a very important effort in connecting education with our roots. You also shared that parents' role as stakeholders has been formally recognized in NEP, which is a very important mention. And emphasis upon strengthening Anganwadis, shows the true intent of policy makers in bringing change. And we also talked about that NEP encourages for using technology in training, and that's very highly laudable. So thank you, Adesh sir, for sharing these important aspects of national education policy. So big thanks. I'll come back to you with questions.
Thank you.
Now I would request Renu ma'am. Renu ma'am, if we can have your ideas of your interpretation on national education policy.
Thank you, Razul sir, for providing us such a big and lovely platform. Dear everyone, I am going to address you all how to take this new education policy forward. So I am going to present my session to all of you. The vision of this policy is very much clear, as all of us know and already aware that this NEP has brought out of new dimensions and new equations to all of us. It is made up of things which we could never do before, and probably now they will be possible. Today we are going to India. NEP came into existence. If I'm not wrong, this is third time NEP came into existence. NEP 2020, first time it came into 1968, after that 1992, and now new education policy 2020. It shares ideas to revamp education, teaching and assessment system in schools as well as in colleges. And on 6 major points, it has been working. So school education, language, higher education, technology, finance, and last but not the least, implementation. It is very important that all of us understand that we are the proud citizens of India and we respect our country. But somehow we generally ignore this fact that this is the country where we have famous universities like Takshila, Nalanda, and famous personalities, famous persons like Panini, Patanjali, Sushruta, who had done very great things. And now we want our children to have this kind of an intellect to know. So this is our prime duty, to make our children learn so that they will be knowledgeable and learn more about these things. And so that we can be confident that they are learning, now they are learning in real manner. So moving further, the vision of this policy is that actually now we come to the key principles of NEP. The key principles of NEP is having a respect for diversity and local context, and having a complete and good emphasis on conceptual learning, conceptual understanding, rather than rote learning. So dear all, we have to move away. We have to focus on equity and inclusion. That is, we have not only to think about equality, means equal opportunities to each and every child, irrespective of where they have born, but also we have to think of inclusion. That is, the children who are of having developmental needs and are differently abled, they also must get all the privileges. We must not ignore this fact. The community participation is so very far important for all our community people. We must encourage the use of technology as much as possible, and of course, critical thinking and creative thinking should be encouraged. There has to be a review of the sustained research and regular assessment. Now, I would like to take it further about the total transformation of curricular structure and pedagogical structure. In NEP, new pedagogical structure and curricular structure, that is, now we are talking about 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. That is the pedagogical structure we are talking about. First 5 years are of fundamental stage. As sir told, if we want building strong, so fundamental things must be strong. Boundaries comes after that. So next age will be learning age, and that will be preparatory. In this, playway and activity-based learning should be there. And moving further, that is 3 years age, that is middle age, full of experience learning with math, science, social science, and other languages. And then comes the secondary stage, where we have secondary schools, senior schools. Here we are going to think about children having no boundaries between humanities, sciences, commerce, and multidisciplinary studies will be taken up. There is going to complete shift towards learning concept and assessment learning and teaching. A word comes like all the Delphine child. We need to promote sport integrated as well as art integrated learning teaching system in the classrooms. We need to reduce the curricular to minimize the root learning for the holistic development of a child. Even most of us have already started doing it, have not it? Portals which we are sharing and the programs which CBSE is announcing time to time are community initiative program, art integrated program, and all these things are reflecting the same. We also need to promote critical as well as creative thinking among children. Now, question arises, how do we do that? Whenever we focus our child on higher order thinking, from lower order thinking to higher order thinking, we shift a child, then obviously we are doing the same. We promote the creative thinking in them. For this, teachers should be trained, obviously. We are going to train teachers even by introducing 6-month certificates program. Even public and school libraries should be expanded. The children who do not have access to buy books, they should have online libraries and other sources of learning material so that they can visit there. As all of you know, that Diksha portal enriched learning sources material there, where everyone can visit and do the same, and for which they are obviously getting certificates. National repository will be there, which is already existing. This is very much important for self-accomplishment and for our creativity, that we should register ourselves for online programs or online courses. The main aim of this new education policy is to access to everyone, to access to all levels, to access to all stages. And our honorable education minister, once he was addressing few of principals, some of school principals, he told that this is our mission to train 10 lakh teachers in upcoming session, in upcoming years, so that these teachers can incorporate new changes in their classrooms. There will be universal participation in schools. Carefully, we have to observe the student data. We should trace the student data. All the students and their result will be digitized. At last, I conclude my words by saying that this NEP 2020 is a very nice policy, but the need is to accept it properly, and this is our kind responsibility, or this is the responsibility of everyone to shoulder this in an honest way, and so that we can make it a successful policy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renu ma'am, for sharing how this NEP, if executed well, will help us getting more leaders. You talked about that NEP focuses upon that conceptual clarity, and it has a potential to, change that rote learning based education system which we have currently. You also talked about that this NEP, has given us focus to 21st age skills, which is a critical skill or creativity. You also talked about the potential of NEP, where it is talking about a shift in learning, or pedagogical shift in learning. You also talked about the teachers training is going to be key, and NEP has proposed, many initiatives. It has also received great attention, the teachers training. So thank you, Renu ma'am, for sharing these important highlights of national education policy. I'll come back to you with questions. And with this, now I would request Jaswinder sir, Jaswinder Singh ji, sir, if we can have your ideas, your perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Rajulji. So, Renu ma'am and Adesh sir, Pooja ma'am, Prachi ma'am, you have all, touched upon language as an important part. I am going to focus a little more into that. So, since I come from the language industry, see, there's a huge disruption which has been suggested, or they would want to get in, is to bring in the mother tongue as the language of instruction in the early foundation years. I do come from the English as a language sphere, but I very much welcome this move because this is something very, very important. Understand, when you and we were studying, at that time we were struggling to understand things in English, and other core subjects were taught in English. So we did not know whether to acquire English or to understand the other part. So this is something very important, because the child, when he or she starts attending school, he or she already knows the mother tongue or the local language. So they don't have that pressure of acquiring a language and simultaneously understanding what is taught in that language. So something very, very, very good that has happened. Let me share an example with you. I'm from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Okay. Doctors of my age, or students who were studying along with me all throughout their life, most of the doctors in today's date in Ahmedabad are those who studied in Gujarati medium. It is not that we from English medium were not intelligent enough, but the point is we were struggling with acquiring a language when they were already knew how to understand those concepts. So beautifully put up, that is great. But this doesn't mean that English will lose its importance. See, we have the 3 language system where they have the local language, the foreign language, and a classical language. Very important. English should be there. It should not be, put on a sidetrack, because understand, the world is becoming smaller day by day. To connect to outsiders, we need to know English. Not only that, even if we have to connect the north and the south of India, we need to that. Pooja ma'am, you were earlier in Uttarakhand and suddenly into Kerala. I'm sure you understand it much better. We have interacted earlier. But see, what happens is, these 2 parts of the country, to integrate them, we need English as a language. So that is going to be there. And third very important thing which they've brought in is the classical language. They have classified Tamil and Sanskrit as classical language. Very important. We as Indians, we need to know what is there in our scriptures. There's such a lot of knowledge in the Indian scriptures which most of us are not able to have access. You'll be surprised to know that all universities in Germany which teach coding or computer sciences, it is compulsory to acquire Sanskrit as a language. There has to be something. So something beautifully done. I'm so glad that NEP 2020 has brought in that. Now, there may be a question, how do you expect a child to get 3 languages when that child was struggling with 1 language? But studies have said that by the age of 8, a student can acquire up to 5 languages. So it is not difficult, okay, to acquire, because all you have to do is bring in a different way of acquiring that language, language acquisition through peer learning, right? Now, understand, I think, Prachi ma'am, you did talk about peer group learning. Okay, experiential learning. Language is all about peer group and experiential. You don't have to go through the formulas of the grammar. You have to talk, make them communicate among themselves. That peer group learning is the best way of acquiring language. A child learns better from a friend than a teacher because they all learn at the same. I mean, they know what each other faces. So that is something which can work excellent. Another point here is that there's a research which shows that if a child speaks 3 or more languages, their brain works better. So it is to the benefit of our children that we expose them to 3 languages. So let it be those 3 languages which can work, in a very strong manner. Now here comes the point. How do we ensure that we give them enough for languages? Because for language, they need to listen, they need to work on them. How would we be able to do that? So technology is something which will be helpful here. We can use technology for students to start exposing them to different languages, because you need to listen a lot to be able to speak. So let them listen using technology, let them speak using technology, and let somebody somewhere go evaluate them. So technology is something that will help them, that if you want your children to develop 3 or more languages, technology is one way which can work out. And I'm sure you all will second me on that, because this is something that has actually worked world over and in our country also. Going into the other point is, we're all talking about so many subjects. How do we make sure that all our teachers are equipped to do that? How do we make sure that our teachers are trained to the new things which are coming in? So let me give you an example here. Okay, so a lot of time people have talked, how will we do this? Let me give you another example. I normally give all my these things. Adat se Mazboor being teachers, we've always been taking a lot of examples. Teachers who were our teachers, right? Teachers who were our teachers, they at that time the syllabus used to change every 10 years, every decade. But now things change every year. Now that same teacher, she has those same 24 hours. She has the same husband, mother-in-law, father-in-law, and kids, and the household activities, and she has to teach also. And today's teacher has the same thing. Now, how would that same time, but more responsibility, how would they be able to work on it? Technology is the thing, that if they use technology, they will be able to be abreast with what has to be taken up. There's another angle to this. Let's understand this angle. Teachers of today will never be able to cope up with the learning abilities of the students. Our students now are very fast. They will not be able to cope up with that. But all they need to do is to learn to facilitate. So I suppose earlier one of the panelists did talk about the teachers from being teachers have to become facilitators. You have to enable learning. You don't have to deliver learning now. You have to see to it that within a group, they do that. And a flipped classroom is a classical example. Let me give you a simple example. If tomorrow or if today I have to teach a topic, what will I do? Normally I have my book. The kids know that, okay, teacher's going to come in. Teacher comes and talks about, say, volcanoes. But what a flipped classroom would be, teacher will not say that, okay, let's study volcanoes today. She'll come and say, tomorrow I'm going to talk about volcanoes, and I want each and every child to get me 10 lines on volcano. Okay, what will the kids do? Straight go Google. Unfortunately, they will not be able to find 10 lines. They will find 10,000 lines. So they will read through them, they'll collect them, they'll do research. And research is one thing that we want our kids to do right from the young age. Research does not mean go do some experiment and find out something new. Research is to find out what you want. So when they go do research, and from that they collate and they summarize 10 lines, they know more than what they're supposed to do. And then when they come to the classroom, sit in a classroom, instead of having those line structure, let them a circle structure. Okay, sit in an oval shape and discuss each and every point. And that is where they will acquire more language. So what we need to do is to, one, train our teachers to know where to find what. Teachers will not be able to know everything because things are changing so fast. So technology, use of technology should be the most important thing. Now, if the government is talking about teacher training, Renu ma'am, you did talk about 10 lakh teachers to be trained. First, let us train them how to learn. If we are saying that we want to train our students how to learn, it has to start with the teachers. So if we are able to give them the tools, show them how to acquire these things, this is something which will work. And in the long run, it will make tech-savvy teachers who will know what the kids want and where to look for it. That's an important part. one thing I forgot to tell you. I did talk about 3 language structure. I did talk about classical language. I did talk about Sanskrit. You know, recently we have developed a lab to teach Sanskrit, the first lab in the world, in fact, already implemented in 472 Kendriya Vidyalayas. So things, technology, anything can be done. And that's something that I would say that whenever we talk about any disruption, whenever we talk about how do we do this, whenever we talk about that NEP has brought in such a lot of new things, how are we going to cope up? How are we going to get 2 crore students enrolled? That means 15 new schools every week. There has to be another different type of school, and that different type of school is technology. So what I would want to propose to the government, like Rajuji said, that come up with some suggestion. So my suggestion to the government is to create an EduNet. What is EduNet? You know what RailNet is? Railways ka khud ka network system, their internet system. If we are able to get EduNet, which is free to all students, and instead of giving them all these books in that same price, in that same cost, you can actually give them a tablet each. Every 3 years, the cost of a book is more than the cost of buying a tablet. A tablet costs not more than 2,500 if you buy in bulk. If they are able to give that, you will be able to reach those remote areas. There's always a question that in the cities or in the semi-urban areas, we will be able to give them technology-driven education. What about rural? Rural, if a telephone can reach, internet can reach, and so can a device reach. So all what I say is if Rajuji, you're going to take this to the policy makers, let them understand, instead of printing books and books and books and giving them books and not knowing whether the book is reaching in the correct way, let us give them access to internet. They have got a lot of portals. And one time you create something, and all they do is it should be education based and controlled, so that the students don't go to the so-called negative areas, but they can actually go and look for what they want to do. So what they're trying to do with the teaching portals, there should be a portal for the students where they can go and search. I don't say give them ready-made things to just take it up. Then we are actually making them dependent. Let us give them a network. Let us give them a device. Every child, India today can afford, if we can afford so many fighter jets, let's fight with knowledge. Let's fight with this thing, because that is something which will work. And most of the problems are because of people not being educated. So if you educate the coming generation right up to the rural area, not what the syllabus or the textbooks speak, but what the child wants to do, that is important. Because we are saying that when the child comes to 11th and 12th, he or she can choose his subjects, but that poor child should know what it is. Okay, in the cities we have counselors, they've got access to people who tell them. In the rural area, they don't have that. So the most important thing that we need to teach our children is, along with literacy and numeracy, is digital literacy. You know, in the cities today, a class or a kindergarten kid can swipe and see photographs. That's how you learn. They can click and listen. That's how you learn. So you don't have to know reading before you know. So what I would say is, language is important part. Yes, it is. Because if a child goes out to work, or a young graduate goes out to work, only 35% is based on his skills, that is the knowledge, and 65% is on the communicative skills. Language plays important, and that 35% they can acquire through the internet. And that is why we can have more internet-based schools rather than having physical schools where it is not possible. I don't say schools should not be there, because a child learns, you know, day to day how to live in this world through meeting with their fellow students. But if they have to acquire knowledge, if they have to acquire skills, technology and internet would play a very, very important role. So as edu leaders, I would suggest that we all see to it that all our teachers are 100% digital literates. Automatically they became. Those people who said, I can't do the computer, I will not touch the computer, they were not able, they were all able to do it during the pandemic. So this is not a challenge. But the only thing is, they should have the intent of doing that. And that's how I would want to rest my point here, that let's all put a lot of focus on our teacher training using digital platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir, for sharing and explaining how we can reach out to that last excluded range of students with the help of technology. Thank you, sir. We'll come back to you with questions. And with this, now I would request our last key speaker for this session, Mr. Savio John. Savio, over to you.
Thank you, Rajulji. I thank all the speakers for sharing their valuable ideas on the NEP and on the various aspects. I would, however, like to speak about the importance of music and how important it is in the lives of a human being overall. I would like to begin by talking about the United States of America. That is where we, as a company, started from 13 years back, and we are in over 200 schools there in the over 200 public schools in the US. Now, these public schools are not like private schools; they are always cash strapped. They have a lot of funding issues. So, what we have seen that in spite of having these funding problems, they emphasize on the need for a detailed laboratory, that is more number of instruments, and so that every child has an access to a one-on-one access to all the instruments. And unless and until we allow this kind of a change, unless and until we have this kind of a facility, I do not feel that we are going to be ever seeing that kind of a change or value addition which all of us desire. And I think it is high time we acknowledge and value the contribution of music in the well-being of human beings as a whole. And I strongly feel we need to streamline the whole idea of music in the learning curriculum. And I would just like to share my screen with your permission, Rajulji. There is a PPT which I would like to show. I have a tiny video at the end of the PPT, so I will try to wrap up the PPT really soon. Are you able to see the PPT?
Yes,
Rajat
it is
ji?
visible.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Okay. So this is an image from one of our users called Abhishek Prasad. This is when we had started our online training. Torrent started as an online website where we used to teach music online. And this is Abhishek Prasad here on the operation theater. So he was suffering from a condition called focal dystonia that has got to do with dysfunction of certain extremities of the limbs. And so the doctors are operating him on the table, and they ask him to do a specific task, and so they can identify which areas of the brain are problematic. So he's playing the guitar on the operation table, and this news was covered by the New York Post and many other media across the world, and this is the mail which he sent to us. And we know that there is a rising case of psychological issues between children, in children between the ages of 6 and 14. Things like this were not even heard 30, 40 years back. But owing to this current lockdown and the pressures and the level of competition, we see that there are a lot of anxiety disorders and eventually leading, to suicidal tendencies. One of the speakers in the previous sessions also said that there is almost one suicide happening every minute in the country right now. So what does music basically do? If you look at both the images of the brain here, so when the brain is at rest, this is how it looks. And when the brain is listening to music, when we are consciously listening to music or playing an instrument, so this is how you can see all these areas of the brain are getting highlighted. What happens is that the brain starts secreting chemicals like serotonin and dopamine both. And what happens, these are happy chemicals. When a child feels sad, he feels upset, so he can always get to playing an instrument, and gradually over a period of time the brain starts getting used to music as a response to all the negativity which the child may probably face. And we know that music has been used as therapy since a very long time, because it has the capacity to reduce anxiety, blood pressure, pain. It improves the sleep quality, mental alertness, and also memory. Ehsan Nurani of Shankar Ehsan Loy, he happens to be the director of one of the directors in Torrens as well. So he used to say that when he used to prepare for his examination, when he was in school, he would be playing music in the background. So it would help him to, relate to certain concepts and ideas, and he could correlate them and, recall them while writing his exams. And so we have taught over 2.5 lakh online subscribers across 140 countries. we are in over 200 schools in the US, and in India, we are at 85 plus schools in over 28 cities. We started in 2017. Our pilot program was in the SNBP International School. So these are images from a live classroom. So we believe in the concept of providing one instrument per child. This allows proper access of skill learning, and all the children are able to spend time on the instrument. Unlike in many situations, we see that there is one child who's playing a guitar and there are 5 other children waiting for this child to finish playing his guitar so that they get an access to the instrument. So this is our program design and setup. This is what we basically do. Rooms are given like this, and this is how we transform it entirely. Everything that you can see on the walls, to the flooring, to the instruments, everything is provided by us. And this is the curriculum which we have. We have 10 different levels to address the various needs, and we take care of the entire activity of the school, anything and everything that's got to do with music, from assembly to the concerts, to competitions. And we have introduced certain novel courses like beatboxing, songwriting, home percussion, body percussion. Because when the lockdown came and we were all caught unaware and the schools had to shut down immediately. So what we had to do is we had to innovate some courses and come up with some solutions so that children would be able to continue learning music in the comfort of their homes, because not every child has an instrument at home. So beatboxing, home percussion, body percussion, songwriting, these are courses in music which you can learn without having to learn a particular instrument or owning an instrument. So these are some images from the online lessons which we did during the lockdown. So these are some glimpses of the online band contest, which we conduct every year. It's attended by over 8 to 10,000 people, and celebrities from Bollywood come and they spend time with the children, they mentor them, they speak to them, they judge them, and then we have winners at the end. Ehsan Noorani happens to be our mentor, our guide, our ambassador, and also one of the partners in Torrance. I would just like to show you this tiny little video. This is an attempt during the lockdown. I would just like to show you a small glimpse of it. Like I was talking about body percussion, beatboxing, and all these things, instruments, courses you can learn without having to own instruments. So